Guys, I'm sorry, but I am just not about that diehard Eagles fan life anymore. You want to see people making better. Watch Philly 500 or someone else like that. That's more ride or die with them. If you want to call me a fair weather fan at this point, I understand. I accept it. I turned that game off once Jalen Hurts fumbled that ball, and yes, that fumble was all on him. And I'm going to start choking people if they're going to make excuses for him this time around. If they're going to say, "Well, we expect him to. His best receivers weren't in the game. He had to try and stay in pocket to make something happen." It's like, no, you got to be aware of the pocket. You got to be hyper aware. You have a chance to cut the game to a one touchdown lead. You cannot turn the ball over. You cannot turn the ball over. You cannot turn the ball over. And on top of Jalen Hurts just being a completely unreliable piece of trash at this point, the coach of this team does not deserve to have a job. How can I get behind? How can I get any ounce of inspiration and be like, "Oh guys, I'm going to rally the troops out there and get people hyped for watching this team." And all that? How can I get hyped over this team if I don't want the coach to have the job and I don't trust the quarterback that is taking the ball on this team? Like, he is every bit as bad. The past 2 seasons, I gave last season pass. I'm just like, oh man, just weird stuff was going on. I'll just write this year off. But man, he better come out this year and look to have turned the page. He hasn't. He hasn't. He's in the same book. He's in the same book, and the title of the book is called "I Suck." All right, he's every bit as bad as Carson Wentz ever was, and I was the biggest, loudest voice to get Carson Wentz out of this team and get Jalen Hurts to get some playing time. And I was the biggest fan of Jalen Hurts when he took this team to the Super Bowl. I thought he was that guy, but he is not. He is not. He is that guy you can never trust. Never. I will never have full trust in him. And again, I can't be full all out on this team. Anyways, shout out to the, like, I don't want to make it sound like Tampa Bay just like flukily won the game today or anything like that, because they didn't. They decimated the defense, and just anytime there was an ounce of life, one side of the ball had just a complete letdown. Just a complete letdown. Whether it's shoving someone into your receiver on a punt and giving the ball right back when your defense makes a big stop after the offense just made a huge touchdown to come out of halftime. Just, and I know people are going to try and make excuses. It was a road game, Archfiend. Smith was out. AJ was out. Barkley could only do so much because they were scheming against the run the whole game and all that. And man, the coach still sucks. And Jalen Hurts is, I have ever little more trust in him now. I can't. I mean, I still like doing the live shows with you guys when there's a late game, like on a Sunday night or a Monday night football game. I'm still down to do that because at least talking with you guys is a distraction. I'm sitting there, I'm watching this game with my kids, and I see, Jalen have that fumble in the third quarter, and I'm just like, why? Why am I taking my kids down this road? Like, what? Like, we could be at Sesame Place right now. Like, why are we at home watching this? Like, and I'm beyond getting upset. Like, I don't sit there and get upset anymore because, again, I've seen my team win a Super Bowl, and that's one thing I will always like. That's why I enjoy mocking the Cowboys fans so much, is because I know there's a whole generation of them that have no idea what it's like to see their team win a Super Bowl. I mean, unless there's a few real old ones like me that remember it when they were like single digit years old. Okay, I'm not that young. But anyway, I even made a post during the game when the Eagles first got down by 14 points. I said, "Congratulations to the Washington Commanders for winning the NFC East." I honestly, wholeheartedly, and I don't mean that as like a sarcastic backhanded comment. I think they have the most well-rounded team and the most promising quarterback right now in the entire division. I said it. Anyway, um, but we'll see, because I mean, that's the thing. Like, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, this division's gonna be up for grabs. You can't ever give up." Who cares? Who cares? I've seen the Eagles win the NFC East so many times that I can't recall the number off the top of my head. I've seen them get to the Super Bowl multiple times. I've seen them win a Super Bowl. So it's like, okay, squeaking in with a mediocre team, that means nothing to me. Means nothing to me. Mediocrity making the playoffs is great for like if you're the Browns or the Jaguars where you're just in complete disparity. Like that's something. It's something for the Cowboys because they're just like, oh, maybe there's a fluke chance we'll get to an NFC championship and get that monkey off our back. It's one less thing people can pick on our franchise for. But I'm like, I'm sorry, but if you're less than a decade removed from winning a Super Bowl, making the playoffs with mediocrity means nothing. It means nothing to me. I don't trust this team. I don't trust it to be consistent. I don't trust that you're going to see that defense that showed up against New Orleans versus that defense that showed up in the first half and did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing for an entire first half of football. The one time they got a stop, special teams screwed it up. Tampa gets the ball back and gets another touchdown. Anyways, like I said, like go watch like Philly 500 or someone else if you want more in depth diehard coverage because he's much more of a masochist than I am for this team. But I just yeah I like because like I'm at a point where I'm like I don't know am I going to be more of a responsible parent to not drag my kids through the inevitable misery of mediocrity or just be like all right hop on kids it's time to bandwagon they're actually good this year like I again, I know people can say like, "Oh, you're turning into a fair weather fan." Fine, fine. I'm thinking about my future and just like having as little misery in my life as possible because my life is so like again, not to brag and not to trumpet. Oh, my life is so good, but I'm like, what? Why would I bring any ounce of misery in my life that I don't have to? That's how I look at it now. I look at it now. If I want to feel good, I'll watch some footage of Nick Foles tearing up the playoffs and in the Super Bowl, and I go like I go back and I watch that footage all the time, all the time. I love it. It's great. It's the greatest sports memory in my life. So, anyways, that's where I stand. Jalen Hurts. Again, what's left to be said about him? I care about him every bit as little as I did at Carson Wentz when he was on his way out of this team. I don't want to hear people making excuses or this or that's for him, saying he can only do so much and all that. But again, like on that fumble, I know people are going to say like, oh, his receivers were locked down and these are all second and third string receivers on the field. So he's got to stick in there and make something happen. It's like you got to have awareness. And then there's times where you got to have hyper awareness. You've got to be so super certain that you're not hanging around too long before a defensive tackle comes and swipes your hand. Just he's just that guy that's gonna just in a clutch moment like that, a key moment, or whatever moment you want to call it, he's gonna turn the ball over. He's done it just way too many times now. And even when you say like that end of that Falcons game, I know people are like, well, that was the end of the game. He's trying to get something to happen with under 30 seconds in the game. Like he didn't need to make that pass. He still had a timeout. Like it wasn't like panic. Oh, I absolutely have to try and make something happen downfield. Like no, he should have thrown that ball away. Even that interception at the end of that Falcons game on Monday Night Football was inexcusable. Inexcusable. You had a timeout in your pocket still, Jalen. You throw that ball away, you go on the next down, and then get a short yard gain. Like you're 17 yards out of Jake's field goal range. Like trying to work a miracle into tight coverage, stupid. Absolutely stupid. And that's what you're going to get from Jalen. A stupid decision when you don't need to. You just don't need to. Anyway, like I said, I'll still do like some live shows for the late games, but I'm not gonna do these big recap videos anymore. If it's a big, huge, major upset, earth-shattering thing, y'all bandwagon on and be like, oh, they look legit. Oh man, I'm so excited. Super Bowl. Anyway, that is all.